Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Mickey Loomis met with reporters on Monday, update the coaching search and all that junk. Ross Jackson was there, LouisianaSports.net. Of course, Locked On Saints podcast as well. He's here now. How are you, man?
Hey, bud. Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Biggest takeaway from sitting and listening to Mickey Loomis drone on for, what was it, about 30 minutes or so?
Spoke with us about 45 minutes.
Maybe I passed out after 30.
And to his credit, we were told probably about with 15 minutes left that we had about one more question, and then we just didn't stop asking questions.
Okay.
So we kind of pushed it. But look, I think that the biggest thing that I think you can take away from this press conference is that, well, they're kind of looking at things the way they typically look at things, right? There's not really a big shift or mentality shift in terms of the approach from one season to the next year, going into 2025 and going into this coaching search. I think that they're waiting on who that head coach is in order to be able to further define what some of the changes are that are on the way. And I think the other big takeaway is that the team, despite Dennis Allen saying earlier on this season, I think you'll remember that they were going to do a deep dive to figure out what was going on with all of the injuries. They have not done that deep dive. And so I guess they're going to do that deep dive to see if they can get things figured out in terms of injury and stuff like that. But I think those are the two biggest things that kind of struck me throughout that press conference.
He was asked about Derek Carr, and I guess, Ross, if nothing else, he was non-committal. He didn't definitively say he's back.
I would agree.
That makes me think the door is open for Derek Carr not being back. Where do you fall in that sliding scale right now?
Yeah, I think that it comes down to who the head coach is and what the head coach wants. I think that's one of the reasons why he kind of left that a little bit open. He said that he likes what it is that Derek Carr has done for them. He kind of accidentally spoke in past tense and then kind of brought it back into present tense at one point in terms of doing that. But, he spoke all about how, if he qualified this year, he would have been top 10 in a couple of different metrics and things like that, which are all true to his case. But I think that the thing that was most notable is that there was no Derek Carr is our quarterback kind of statement, right? And I think that what that means is that they're going to see what it is that the new head coach wants. If the new head coach wants a year with Derek Carr, then that head coach will get a year with Derek Carr. If that coach wants another quarterback, then it based on the lack of commitment, it sounds like the team would be willing to hear that. And in fact, actually, Mickey was asked if such a thing would make a head coach seem less desirable, say that there was a head coach that said that they didn't want to work with Derek Carr, and he did not ascribe to that at all. And it sounds like they're very much going to take the lead at the quarterback position from the new head coach.
He's on Twitter at Ross Jackson Nola. You want to give him a follow. When you started there, Ross, you said the biggest takeaway was that it's, I don't want to say status quo, but they're continuing with their same approach. What does that mean for the salary cap?
Yeah, I think the salary cap is kind of the one big kind of looming thing. Mickey Loomis did say that, they're a team that's got 61 players on their roster, which is true. But so do the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers are $46 million under the salary cap. So it's less about the number of contracts that you have. And I think one of the other things that Loomis was highlighting was there's all these other things too, guarantees, restructures, all this other stuff. It's about when those contracts were given out and what's been done with those contracts since those contracts were negotiated. And so you've seen the Saints, of course, restructure and kind of do this kicking the can down the road method for quite a while now. Now, the Saints are currently somewhere between $50 to $60 million over the salary cap. I say that because we don't actually know what the salary cap is yet still going into 2025. But the estimation is that it's going to be somewhere north of like $270 million. That would put the team somewhere around $53 million over. That's small potatoes, considering what they've done in the recent past. And so the salary cap situation has gotten better. So I think you're going to see them continue to do what they did over the course of last year, as opposed to what they've done in previous years, where they kind of maximize all the restructures in previous years. Last year, they were really kind of only giving out those one-year deals. They only gave out like 1 or 2 2-year deals. I think you're probably going to see a same sort of like fiscally responsible approach with maybe 1 or 2 nice-sized signings to accompany, a la the Chase Young signing from last year, in terms of allowing them to be able to start to really get their way out of the salary cap. So that's maybe one place to where the approach isn't changing from recent years, but the approach is still a departure from years past.
He's got a good piece up at LouisianaSports.net right now. 5 takeaways from Mickey Loomis in the end-of-year presser. If you want to read it, everything always free over at LouisianaSports.net. He's Ross Jackson. Obviously, the other gigantic piece is the head coaching piece. Can you catch us up on where we are, sort of the flyover, who's interviewed, who's coming up, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so the people that have interviewed already have all been virtual interviews, which is per the NFL rules. They've had interviews so far with defensive coordinator from the Miami Dolphins, Anthony Weaver, defensive coordinator from the Detroit Lions, the presumed favorite going into this conversation, Aaron Glenn, and then they also had an interview with offensive coordinator and assistant head coach for the New York Giants, Mike Kafka. Going into this week, there was some expectation that maybe they would find a way to interview Mike Vrabel, but of course Vrabel took his job with the New England Patriots, so you can cross him off of your list. Going into this week, the expectation is that they'll interview interim head coach Darren Rizzi at some point this week, and then sometime Friday and Saturday, interviews with 3 different offensive coordinators. Kellen Moore from the Philadelphia Eagles, Joe Brady, former offensive assistant here in New Orleans, and of course, a big part of that 2019 LSU championship team, Joe Brady over with the Buffalo Bills. And then, of course, they also have requested to speak with Cliff Kingsbury of the Washington Commanders. According to reports, the expectation is that all 3 of those interviews will take place Friday and Saturday. We don't know the day yet for Darren Rizzi's interview. Now, the big new wrinkle is Mike McCarthy, who has parted ways with the Dallas Cowboys today. He's expected to effectively become one of the favorites and one of the front runners to land the New Orleans Saints coaching job now. So we'll see when they get on the horn, when they decide to try to bring him in for an interview and get that conversation done. The interesting thing about him is that he's a hire now that they could make at any time, that any team that's looking for a head coach can make at any time. They don't have to kind of follow the NFL timeline. So that's where the next big wrinkle comes in, is where does Mike McCarthy fit into the puzzle for New Orleans?
Where does Mike McCarthy fit into the puzzle for New Orleans?
Yeah, he's going to be one of the top guys. He's going to be somebody that they like. Jane Slater was speaking earlier in Dallas, and she was talking about how he's beloved within the building in New Orleans. Of course, a couple of the big decision makers on the, for lack of a better phrase, kind of search party or search panel, if you will, for that head coaching position. Mickey Loomis as well as Randy Mueller, former general manager. Both of those guys were on staff when Mike McCarthy was an offensive coordinator here, 2000 to 2004. And so they think very highly of him, reportedly, and the expectation is that with him now being available, that he jumps either to the top or at least near the top of the list for New Orleans in terms of the potential candidates for their next head coach in 2025.
Oh, boy. I'm not sure that's going to be met with resounding praise from the.
I don't think that's going to be the most inspiring hire. I completely agree with you. Do I think that he's the worst head coach option? No. But do I think that hire is not going to be the most inspiring? Absolutely. I completely agree with you there.
Make sure you check out Locked On Saints podcast, YouTube, whichever you prefer. Of course, you can read Ross's work every day for free over at LouisianaSports.net. We appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Thanks for having me. See you soon.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.